Hello, everyone. We are back with the lore of Neverwinter. Today, I want to talk about something pretty neat, the Tyranny of Dragons content, one of my favorite areas in the Neverwinter game, and what the Neverwinter MMO has done with the Cult of the Dragon and where this all comes from, what it all means. And I am bringing this up for what I think is a very good reason, which is that recently we have had a series of tweets coming on that tell us about something coming. And let me show it to you here. So there have been a series of tweets like this that came out. The first one was all sort of red script, and you might look at this and say, well, is that infernal? What is this? And what we can do is we can actually take a look at our player's handbook, and we can see exactly what's going on here, which is that this is the Draconic Alphabet. And so if we start decoding it and look at these runes and what the letters mean, then we can realize that these are the letters for black. And similar before, there was red and blue. So these are the dragons that are part of the Dungeons and Dragons area. And by now, folks who play the Neverwinter game know what's up. These teasers were telling us about this special prophecy event. And what the event is basically doing is it's tied into a set of books that are going to come out, which are Fizban's, or it's one book with two covers, the Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. And this event, or this book, will cover all about things that are dragon related. So there will be draconians from the old Dragonlance setting. There will be all kinds of new dragons, bigger dragons than ever before, and there'll be extra dragon lore. In the Neverwinter game, if you've seen one of my earlier streams, there are some big chunks of the world that were removed. And now we're going to see some of them come back. And all of that is tying into the Cult of the Dragon and the story that is represented in the very first adventure. So let's talk a little bit about the Cult of the Dragon. We get a lot of information in a very old second edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons book that was written, and as well as novels and other pieces written before. So the Cult of the Dragon begins somewhere like 900 DR, which is the calendar year used, Dale Reckoning, which is more than 500 years ago from the current era that is both in Neverwinter and in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. So 500 years ago, a powerful wizard named Samaster, he's not just an archmage, he is a chosen of the goddess of magic. So he is like Elminster or Kelbin or Laeral Silverhand, a super, super powerful mage that basically has like a god essence inside of him. Samaster, unlike the others, well, let's say the goddess of magic does not just pick good people, right? She recognizes magic and promotes it. And so that could be a good person or a bad person. In Samaster's case, very bad. And in fact, had delusions of godhood and caused a lot of trouble. Was killed about 16 years after starting the Cult of the Dragon, and then becomes a lich, as one does. About 100 years ago, Samaster was killed in lich form, and has not been, I believe, heard from since then. So let's talk about what the cult was that Samaster started. The premise of the cult was to venerate evil dragons and help them enrich their horde, such that when they were to die, they would allow the cult to turn them into undead Dracoliches, and the cult then had control over them. And this all came from a prophecy that they believed foretold in kind of religious fashion that Dracoliches would rule Faerun, sort of the dead would rise and take it over. And with 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, we moved beyond this lore into a set of books, Horde of the Dragon Queen. Actually, I've done them sort of in reverse order, but Horde of the Dragon Queen and Rise of Tiamat were released, I think, either simultaneously or right next to each other, but they are 1 and 2 part adventure that you play through, and this explores the story of the Cult of the Dragon changing, where they know their new leader, Severin Silvergen, is guided by Tiamat, kind of gets voices in the head and visions, and guess who they're from? They're from Tiamat. That says that the cult was mistaken to think that this prophecy was about undead dragons. It's actually about an ancient dragon empire that existed a long time ago, before the Giant Empire, way back when, in fact, 25,000 years ago. And that this is what needs to happen. We need to return to those times. To do that, you're supposed to venerate living dragons, not dead, bring back Tiamat from the Nine Hells, and this will usher in a return to the era when dragons rule the land. I never understand exactly why humans would think this is a great idea, but the cult works with a splinter group of red wizards of Thay, super evil as well, and begin to gather 5 artifacts known as dragon masks to bring about Tiamat's return. The 5 combine into 1 mask and allow opening the portal to bring in Tiamat. So let's talk about what Neverwinter did, because it's kind of interesting. Neverwinter took this in as their, I think it was the 5th expansion of the game. It might be earlier than that. But they bring in the what they did first was introduce the factions, and basically took the existing map of the game and in various zones added Cult of the Dragon people who were sort of doing something and we weren't sure what. It was a great way to represent the adventure in 5th edition, where you were doing the same thing. You're trying to figure out what is the Cult of the Dragon up to. And so you go to all these zones and you find that they are gathering supplies, and they are there are dragons that sweep into these areas. And one of the really fun things is going to these zones and battling these dragons. And while it was generally kind of easy and maybe too easy, it was still a ton of fun to just see these enormous dragons come in and you're fighting them all with other people and bringing them down. Once you, and the other thing is these factions, so those were like the Lord's Alliance and the Harpers and the Zentarum, the Emerald Enclave, the Lord's Gauntlet. Working with them, you met different members of them and kind of learned their personalities through that. You could get like sort of gear with their emblem on them, which was kind of fun. And you'd go through all these series of quests serving the various factions. So you got to know the factions while figuring out what's going on. This led us to, and I'll post a video later on YouTube. I found an old video I'd recorded and never posted, where I did a run of the Isle of Turin, which is part of the storyline where you try to stop the cult, thinking that that's the end of their plan, but it is not. There's also a skirmish you can still do, the Isle of Turin, and there's an encounter that you can no longer do, and then the skirmish you can still do, where you go to the Isle of Turin and try to stop their plans. Once you've gone through this, you then go to the final piece of the storyline. And this is the piece that's really still left, which is the Well of the Dragons. We're going to take a look at that. And it's a really, really neat idea. And there's another piece of this story that we're going to add to later. By the way, I should say that there is a super adventure that gathers both of these together called Tyranny of Dragons, which is a lot of fun. So we are going to go into the Well of Dragons. I will take my Barbarian. And what the Well of Dragons allows you to do is see this end of the storyline campaign. And I should actually look at my map view really quickly to show you. It's way out here. It's not near Neverwinter, and that's true in the book as well. So they just kind of give us a little indication here to show it's not here, which they often do. A lot of times these things that are further out are maybe not necessarily exactly on the map. In fact, Ebon Downs, I think, should be somewhere around here. But anyway. So here is the Well of Dragons, and it's a really, really neat looking area. I am here on a sort of raised area of rock where all of the faction representatives are gathered, and you can see some kind of coins scattered around, and in fact see Elminster.
Oh, thank Mistra, we managed to survive and get out in the nick of time. Well then, all will make sense in time.
I think it's really funny when the NPC tells you you won, but not yet. And one of the fun explanations here is that if you fail, Elminster sends you back in time to try again. So that's kind of what that's about. Is like, oh, you haven't succeeded yet? Don't worry, you will. Spoiler, you're going to win. So we can see here faction banners. So this is the wyvern, kind of winged snake of these Zentarum, and so we can talk to different Zentarum members.
I might have a job for you.
And all of the NPCs that you meet throughout this whole thing, which used to be, again, much larger, had a much larger aspect to it, would have sort of interesting angles. So, like, she's a vampire. And when you first meet her, you're like, wait, what? A vampire working for the Zentarum? And, well, that's the Zentarum. They're sort of nefarious. So that's what it's like. Whereas, on the other hand, we can go and meet the Order of the Gauntlet.
Hail, adventurer. If you're willing to help, the Order of the Gauntlet has worked for you.
The Order of the Gauntlet is very lawful and religious. We also actually have a representative from Everesca, which is not one of the factions, but it's an elven nation. The Harpers.
Are planning some deep reconnaissance work, and we could use your help.
So everybody who worked on this, they really did a great job of representing the different groups.
I'm glad we have people like you on our side. If you're here to aid
The Emerald Enclave is sort of related to forests and nature, so I like the whole unnatural angle and natural drakes. There's something in the speech of all of these that tips you off to what they're like.
Bruin appreciates your assistance in these
And so, yeah, so you work with all of these different groups, and there are different traders and things like that in this whole area. And let's take a look at the map. You can see I have a lot of blue, which is different quests that I have active. And so the idea here is, hey, we know that something really bad is taking place in this desert. We must stop whatever is taking place, which, is probably at the Temple of Tiamat, but we'll figure that out. And we're going to fight off all the different cultists that are around our camp. So we are in this little camp here. You come in through this entrance here and weave your way up and get into this narrow area. So we kind of control this area against all these other threats. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move around this area to just show you some of what it looks like, because it's a really neat area. So we've got kind of catapults that we are using and defenses. There's some great sweeping views here. It's really great. Let me see what quests I have. So some of the quests let you look around and see different areas. I don't have too many of those. That blue light is from a heroic encounter. So there are different big encounters you can do. So this is to stop these bone summoning Thans. In fact, I'll just come down there and take a look, take some damage by jumping down. But you can see that there are Thans here, red wizards. And if we go here, we can see a group that's actually taking on. So sure, we'll do that. There's a giant bone golem that's working with the red wizards. All kinds of different Thans here. And I'm going to talk about the monsters that we fight in a bit. The Thans are kind of, they're all right. They're neat, but they're not maybe the neatest. But the Cult of the Dragon representatives are really cool because each type represents one of the dragons and sort of reflects that angle of what they venerate. So like here, well, yeah, these are mixed. This area has a mix of Thans, and this is sort of neat that there are these different areas. It's like Than camp is over here. This is kind of a mix, and then we get more towards just Cult of Dragon over in this area, but sometimes still a mix. And so there's another small encounter where they're got some sacrifices that they're gonna put up, and I'm not gonna fight them now. I'm just gonna take you around and show you the different areas. So really neat. They're dragon bones. That's why we're coming to this area. This is the Well of the Dragons, where dragons would come to die. Neat rope ladders. You can see more bones there. Really neat looking. This takes us back towards where we were, but you can just, it's really neat. I mean, this is such a cool place to describe to your players, right? If you're running a tabletop campaign, we're back to where we were. So now we'll go out in this direction. You can see some more neat desert terrain. There are these, from forgotten eons, these kind of things that have tumbled down. There's another heroic encounter here that can be done. I think it just ended. All kinds of draconic creatures. And some of the quests are neat, like this one when you come up here, if I can jump up correctly. This one will give us a view. So this quest is to like scout the area, so you get to kind of see all these scenic zones, which is pretty fun. And like I said before, I'm gonna upload a video to the YouTube of the Isle of Turin skirmish. I will also upload a video of what it's like to take on Tiamat herself, which is really neat because you have to attack each of her heads and stop her from coming into our world. Really very cool. So now we're going to the Thayan camp area. So there are all these different camps here where you have the Thayans. They are protected by devils. The Thayan comes in a different type, like Evoker. My companion took her out, but or him out, I'm not sure. Took them out. But they, depending on their type, whether they're, if they're evokers, they will cast spells at you, which is what most of these are here. You can see just blast of cold that tries to freeze me, but I'll take them out. Yeah, so there's a whole Thayan zone here. Very cool. And you can see the different encounters. So here's one where this guy's invincible, so you have to defeat others and gather these special pieces to drop them into this urn at the center, and then that removes the vulnerability. That's fun. But yeah, just really pretty. The different elevations are something I really, really enjoy about this. Yeah, and then we are gonna move on over this way. Oh yeah, there's a connection to Thay, which is really fun. So you have a quest. I've talked about Thay before, way back in my first video. I did a lot of that. You can see here, there is a portal to Thay. So you can get a quest, which I currently have, and you actually go to this Thayan shelter. And this just looks to me like Stargate or something like that, right? Like the sands are spilling over this area where they maintain this portal, and they're guarding it. And of course, you can take them out or sneak in there. And there are all kinds of quests to do, like there's an Interim Scout that tells you, what they've collected, what kind of information. Whispering to you so you don't, disturb them. So we'll now come over this way towards, I'll just show here on my map where we're going. We're curling around to this Thayan area towards the actual Temple of Tiamat. And this area, you can queue for it, and when you if you watch the video that shows the actual battle, you can go in here and queue for the Tiamat event to get in there with others and face off against Tiamat. But yeah, you can just see. I mean, this is a beautiful looking place. Super cool. I love all these details, all the draconic emblems. Just all of this just looks super, super awesome. I love it. And little touches, like for example, you see the colors here, right? Different dragon colors, white, blue, and green, and black. This is probably the red there, so yeah. Very cool. We'll now curl around here. And we find a good group of these enemies over in this direction. I'll show you how they fight. This is another part of the zone. This is heading back towards the center, and there are all these different carts that are being loaded up with bones of dead dragons to use those as part of the ritual. Super neat. So this area now gets into areas, this area gets into a zone that has just the cultists. So we don't have any Thayans in this part. And that's a great way to get to know what all these different folks do. I might see if I can fight some here. In fact, they'll be... So this guy's a good example of a black dragon knight. He has a poison blade. If you see that sort of red around his blade. And on this quest, I can stop him and hear what the plans are. So you'll see some of those cultist messengers running around. But he is one that follows the black dragons. Oh, and here's a very fun quest I'll show you. So I've got a quest to replace their treasure chest with mimics. It's really kind of silly. So yeah, this is a quest that the vampire Zentarum gives you. And so, you know, an innocent member of the Black Dragon cult will come over and be like, hey, what's wrong with this chest? And then they get totally attacked and eaten and killed. And then you've got to set up another chest. Yeah, so let's take on a bunch of these, what are called Black Dragon Claws. And you'll see they hit me, and not only do they do damage, but they'll also poison me. My companion took them down, but I take poison over time when they poison me with their blades, which is sort of, or I guess it's acid, really, not poison, sorry, acid. And so that's kind of a fun way to represent the Black Dragon, which is an acidic spewing dragon. Now I will, and you have things like red iron golem, so it's like red fire breath that it can breathe. Attack it. See if it breathes on me. Yeah, there you go. So it's like a fire breath that comes out. Really cool. And I love this. I've talked about other videos how this, a lot of the way they built this game is based on the 4th edition of D&D that has very evocative powers. So here we're going to face off against a blue dragon wing. The blue creates an electric shield, which is kind of cool, and it'll sort of power up and then come back and attack me. And I'm going to have to take my companion down. We also have a white dragon torturer here, you can see. So he freezes you with these balls of ice, which is super neat. But yeah, my companion is pretty strong. So let me remove my companion and bring something that doesn't attack. So we'll just bring this little orb that'll orbit around my head. Not be quite as effective. So I can come over here and free captives. That's one of the quests that you can do. They thank you. Somehow they had money on them that nobody had taken. It's really amazing. Freeing all the captives. Thanks for your gold. Yeah, so, you know, Black Dragon will poison me, or will have acid on me, and then the white one can freeze me. You see there, I'm totally frozen. I can break it due to my Barbarian Rage, which is kind of neat. Another cultist messenger. Each of them tells me a place that they're going to attack in the Sword Coast to let me know just how important this is. Let's see. So we saw, let's see the green dragon. So the green dragon is sort of modeled after one that is, you know, more sort of nature-ish, even though it's poison and swamps. And so often surrounded by these different drakes. And it's an archer. And they will do things like that. Big, strong, magical bow attack. They will pin you. So if I'm here, I will get rooted and I can't move from where I am. Just a good opportunity for me to attack these drakes that are pain in the butt. Yeah, and so and they'll also do like a little kind of hail of arrows thing. So kind of fun, you know, the green dragon cultist doing this archery trick with poison and immobilizing you and things like that. The white dragon will turn you into a chunk of ice. Black dragons with acid, and then you have some elements that'll be like fire based, but usually it's these guys. So that's a lot of fun. I like that, how they did that. It's pretty neat. Here's another area where we can take a little look-see. Scout the area. Very neat. Now, the Well of Dragons is also known for something else. In fact, I should check and see where this is taking place, because maybe we can join it. And that is the Dragon Run, shortened to DR05. Let's see. So I'm going over to Instance 5. So I'll switch over to Instance 5. And we're going to do the Dragon Run with a bunch of people. Good timing here. This is where the idea is that you're doing all these quests. And then we realize, oh no, here's what they're up to. They're summoning Tiamat at the temple. And we must stop them. But she is summoning a bunch of dragons to defend the area. So we have to first take out all these dragons. And a dragon run is sort of a massive blitz where everybody goes out and attacks each of the dragons, starting with Volzakaris, who is the green herald of Tiamat. So you can see how fun this is. Huge green dragon. I'm not going to do too much fighting other than keeping myself alive, just so you can see it, because usually these die really quickly. But there are pools of acid around that'll sap your health, poison clouds. She'll breathe. She'll also do a tail attack, and eventually she'll succumb to all of these players. Every green name is a player, so there's a whole bunch of us here doing this. And then we will go on this run through the area as we go to our next dragon. So we took out green, now blue. Kratazur does a very wicked attack with lightning. You saw that lightning breath. He will also do tail slaps and bites and things like that, but when the lightning hits, it doesn't actually often show visually, and so you can have these pools of lightning that you don't know are under you, and you just sort of die. It's very rough. You can see, yeah, people die when the lightning hits, so we are going to help raise up our friends. Oh, I've got to get out of there because that lightning is bad. But beautiful looking. All of the visuals are just like the huge miniatures, which are some of my favorite dragon miniatures ever. So super neat looking. But I don't want to fall too far behind, because next up is red. We got to go see red. Oop, and we have to run around this other encounter here where all these cultists are attacking. Hohengroth, the red dragon, very cool, of course, surrounds themselves in fire, breathes fire out in big, huge gouts. We'll kind of do like fireball-like breaths, as well as the line of fire it's doing there, breathing all in red. You can see that, very cool. Gotta get some hits in just to make sure it counts for me. Cultists are summoned each time these dragons are attacked as well. But very, very cool. I love the visuals of this. Super neat. Now we go to white. Ooh. Gotta get away. Get onto my little flying Tetris floating disc, by the way, is what my mount is, if you were wondering. It's a really fun visual. When you summon it, there's a little dude who shows up and casts the spell for you. I don't know where they go after that, but... Glicamarax, the white, really neat, freezes you in place. I don't really want to be breathed on. I don't remember how much damage it does these days, but the breath is really neat, but then will also, yeah, right here, it'll freeze me, so I'll just let it. I become a frozen, which is really neat. Now I can break out with my Barbarian Rage, which is very handy. But very cool. You know, the dragons all have fairly similar mechanics: the tail slap, the bite, the breath weapon, the aura, with a few tricks depending. But still super fun. I just the visuals alone make me happy every time we take on the dragons. Yeah, now our last dragon is Black Rugrotus, the Black Herald of Tiamat. Oh, that is a bigger zone. Oh, that's the stun zone. That's why. That's not supposed to have a vision, but that's fine. Pools of acid and acid breath, what you'd expect. By this time, everybody is aware of the dragon. We've taken it out very quickly. And now when you look at the map, there are no dragons left, but there used to be all these different... When you see this, you can see kind of where the different spots are where they show up. Very fun. A lot of times when people are doing this, they will also switch instances and do it again in an instance that has a bunch of dragons there. But I don't need to do that. Back in the Thayan area, and I can go back to the middle here. You can see like birds circling overhead. Yeah, the sun. There's some really, really great visuals here. And I love the mix, how they captured the idea of the Thayans helping, how they captured the factions representatives and how they'll talk to you when you do things.
Interesting. Your report seems to corroborate what Sendisel described. The increase of cultist activity.
So again, you know, those quests are all sort of drumming up towards the end result of meeting with Tiamat. Very fun. Just really, really neat way that it's done. This also came with different artifact sets and magic items that were tied to the lore here, and very fun. So I will talk about one last thing before we stop this video, and just, well, two things. One is where we're going to go with this. So what we'll do next time is we're going to talk about this special campaign that's happening now called Echoes of Prophecy. And to do that, it's also called A Tear in the Weave, or at least the first part of the campaign is called A Tear in the Weave. And to set this up, I want to talk about what the Weave is. The Weave is your magic system. It's what allows magic in the world to work. Otherwise, it would be like a sort of wild force that no one could bind, no one could put in a magic item or a scroll or cast a spell, because it would just be raw chaos that nobody could handle. And in fact, probably would destroy everything we know. But the goddess of magic, Mystra, weaves strands of this magical stuff in such a way as that to kind of layer it upon the world and tie it to the world in a way that is ordered. And this allows for its use. If this didn't happen, it, again, could destroy the world. And one of the things we see that's really kind of fun in various parts of stories that have happened across time is that somebody messes with the weave, right? So, and that's just something that happens very often. And when the weave is messed with, bad things happen. Sometimes it's done during an edition change as a way to sort of explain what has happened. Mystra does a lot to maintain magic, not just being alive, but she ties it to special anchors in our world. Some of it is the magic that's in the Chosen themselves, people like Samaster or Elminster. And so people will try to mess with it, which is a bad idea. The elves have done so in conjuring powerful magics at various places to change the land. That caused the Sundering. The Netherese tried to serve Shar, and Shar, an evil goddess we talked about recently in the Velosk video, she tried to basically, well, she and Cyric murdered Mystra, and then she had the plan of using a shadow weave from the Shadowfell to control magic and replace the magical weave so that only somebody that worshipped Shar could use magic. I suppose that's a great plan if you're evil. It failed, and the Spell Plague was unleashed, which was what happened to launch 4th edition of Dungeons & Dragons. Tore the landscape, caused Toril and its sister world of a bear to exchange parts. Magic changed greatly, but it took about 100 years to sort this all out, where the weave was renewed and repaired when Mystra returned to life. This led to the second Sundering, which separated those two worlds of Toril and Abir, the sister worlds, back. Most of it was returned to its proper place and sort of reset the Forgotten Realms. So all of this is the backdrop that we will use to talk through how this new event, this prophecy, is taking place, and that ties back to what we were saying earlier with the tweet that came out showing this different dragon and everything. So next time we will look at the actual event itself and what the lore is there. And yeah, so I hope this was helpful to you. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, like the videos. Those are always helpful. And if you like what I do, support my work. You can find the rules for collaborative campaign creation for free on my website, alphastream.org. If you subscribe to my newsletter, you get it for free. It's also available on DriveThruRPG. And I have a lot of work on the DM's Guild. Everything you see there on the left-hand side, those are all products that I have available for Dungeons & Dragons.